Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah. Turn up the headphones just a little bit.
The world is changing. Right before our eyes, the world is changing. Before we realize, the world is changing. We better open our eyes, the world is changing. Right before our eyes. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody's on the track, but we don't know where we're going at all. We're going down, 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 down. Crash. Going down the path we don't really want to go. All right now. Crash, crash. We're going down the path we don't really want to go. The world's changing. Right before our eyes, the world is changing. Before we realize, the world is changing. We better open our eyes, the world is changing. The world is changing. Right before our eyes, the world is changing. Before we realize, the world is changing. We better open our eyes. The world is changing right before our eyes. Senses are upside down. Now everybody is a clown. Music is so watered down. So many things that are happening now. I'm just frustrated, so I'm thinking out loud. Maybe we can find our path and be lost and found. The world is changing. Everybody's dancing. Life is just a trial. Everybody's on a track, but we don't know where we're going on. We're going down, 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 down. Crash. We're going down the path we don't really want to go. All right, now. Crash, crash. We're going down the path we don't really want to go. The world is changing. That's funky, y'all. Keep it going. The world is changing. Right before our eyes, the world is changing. Before we realize, the world is changing. We better open our eyes, the world is changing. Changing, changing, changing. The world is really changing everything. Ooh, yeah.
Hotel brothers and sisters, welcome to the Per Hour Questions and Answers show. I'm your co-host, Brother Michael M. Hotep. Today is Thursday, January 15th, 2014, and we are live tonight. So tonight we're going to deal with the Dogon Nation of Mali, West Africa, introduction and overview, study notes. Okay, so Brother KABA will be calling in a few minutes. I know he's wrapping up his Town Zone TV 9 p.m. Broadcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have not downloaded the study guide notes for tonight's show, visit pantherprints.com, pantherprints.com. You can download them right there. It downloads in Microsoft Word format. So you could download them there, print them up, or maybe if you can't print, you can just have the document open on the screen while you listen, okay? A few ways we can listen. You can listen to the show. You can call in and listen by phone if maybe you are at work or away from the Internet. The phone number is area code 914-338-1375, 914-338-1375. If you have a question or comment, press the number 1 key to put you in queue so we can bring you on the air. Secondly, you can visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. We usually have information about our questions and answers show, as well as the African History Network show right there on the homepage of our website. So the link is right there for you to listen. And you can also visit us at blogtalkradio.com/the African History Network show. blogtalkradio.com/the African History Network show. The chat room is open, so you can join us in the chat room. Lala Smith, Ja Boogie, Anthony Moore L. are a few of the people in the chat room. So blogtalkradio.com/the African History Network show allows you to join us in the chat room. And if you don't have a few seconds to set one up, only about 30 seconds to set one up, and it's free to do that as well. Okay? So join us in the chat room. Follow us on Facebook, The African History Network is our Facebook like page. We have over 40,000 followers on the like page. We hit 40,000 this morning. And we have the information for tonight's show right there. I just reposted it. It says on air now, okay? And you can share that on your own Facebook page. Click the share button and let people know to tune in. And follow us on Twitter as well at the AHN Show or Michael Imhotep on Twitter. We just posted the information once again for tonight's show on Twitter, so you can retweet that. Okay, we got Brother KABA on the line. Let's bring him on. Hotep, Brother KABA, how you doing tonight?
Hotep, my brother Imhotep, I'm doing excellent, brother. How about you?
Oh, well, I'm doing all right, brother. Just very busy. You know, I talked to you earlier today, and I'm preparing for a lecture I'm doing this Saturday.
Okay, brother.
12 to 3, yeah, so just working on that, man. But I know tonight's show is going to be good, brother, because we're dealing with Dogon, and I've downloaded the study guide notes. So I know you just wrapped up your Town Zone TV 9 p.m. class. So for those who may have tuned in late or may have missed it or what have you, give us an overview of what you talked about tonight.
Well, what we did this evening's class is I just wanted to have almost like informal, if you want to call it that, conversation about the Dogon.
Okay.
There is said about the Dogon. There's so much information out here about the Dogon. I really just wanted to introduce the class to the idea of who the Dogon were and what they had achieved, and just different aspects of who the Dogon were. And I cited 4 books that I would encourage the community that is listening here this evening to the African History Network show to make sure that they get. One of the things that we have to do, Brother Imhotep, don't need to tell you this, you know this, and I'm sure that the majority of people that are listening know this also, but I just say it to reassure them and us. We have to begin to create our own individual home family libraries and resource centers in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing has always been to really look at certain things that I find very interesting. For instance, one of the things that Dr. Clark did for me, which was really a phenomenal experience for me, was that he said to me, he went through a whole line of different things where he was talking about books.
Okay.
And he was telling me about how many books people read in their lifetime. And he said to me, imagine being a reader since the age of 8, and let's say you die at the age of 88, you would have spent 80 years reading. And let's say that every year that you ever were able to read, that you read 3 books a week. And he said, let's do the math on that. And as we did the math, we looked at 52 weeks times 3, which became 156. And then he said to me, okay, now what I want you to imagine is I want you to now multiply that times 80, which is how many years that you've been studying, and what's that number? And the number came out to 12,480. And he said, just imagine, Booker T, all of the books that exist in the world, the millions of books that exist in the world, in your lifetime, as an avid reader of 3 books a week for 80 years, you have only read 12,480.
Right.
He was attempting to get me to understand it's not what you it's not how many you read, it's what you read, and what is the relationship between what you read and what you need to know.
Right, right.
What he did for me personally was he helped me narrow down those books in my life so I'm not reading books I don't need to read.
Correct.
One thing I think that I'm attempting to do with the Per Ankh, one thing I attempt to do with the community, I think they have seen that one thing I'm always doing constantly is I'm always giving books to read. I'm always saying to them, you can get more information about this from, and then I'll give them the book that they can get the information from. I'm constantly trying to build up their reading base so that they don't have to, I just don't tell them that the information's out there. I tell them what book I've experienced.
Correct.
Through the help of Professor Clark, that will cut down a lot of the waste of their time so that if you should be a prolific reader who reads 3 books a week for 80 years, every one of those 12,480 books are critical to your understanding. And how many books do you don't have to read the whole book? There are some, I bought a book one time on the rhetoric and dialectic. It was a book on sacred philosophy. And I was in Barnes & Noble, and I was looking for the 7 liberal arts, which is this sacred philosophy that our ancestors looked at. This is how they taught. The book Stolen Legacy outlines these stories. These areas. And so you have what's called the quadrivium and the trivium. You have the 4 subjects that are related, and then you have the 3 subjects that are related. And the quadrivium includes topics like rhetoric, dialectic, grammar, and the astronomy. I'm sorry. That's the trivium. The trivium deals more with language arts and expression through language, which would be the dialectic, the grammar, and the rhetoric. That's the trivium. Those 3 subjects are related. That's what our ancestors taught in the higher learning schools, the Per Ankhs. The quadrivium, the 4 subjects, include geometry, astronomy, astronomy, music, and arithmetic. That's the quadrivium. And I literally can take you through a process of the unfolding of the neuronal connections using these 7 subject areas. Our ancestors did not teach in subjects. They did not teach math, and then biology, and then geography, and then social, and then go to gym, then to lunch. They didn't teach in subjects. They taught in broad stroke conceptual concepts. And out of those concepts, they weaved the subject areas in and out. So, let's say you're looking at a concept like environment. How was the environment used to build the pyramids? That would be the theme. And then out of that theme, you then would look at the math of the pyramids. You'd look at the science of it, whether it be the chemistry. You look at the math, which is the physics, the arithmetic. You then look at jurisprudence, governance, the dynastic period that it was built in. So the subject areas would be weaved into the theme, and the theme would be weaved from a concept as opposed to that. And within that, you would study the grammar, the dialectic, and the rhetoric. You then would study, go from there. You then would go into the arithmetic, the geometry, the music, and the astronomy. And that's how you literally would study according to the ancient Kemetic legacy. And then to build from that concept, you then would build and build and build from that, and that would be how, but the neurons were connected differently than they are like with us. That's why we have such a great challenge, man, because we are not using our brain the way our ancestors used their brains. We're just not using our brains that way anymore. And it just becomes very important for us to be able to understand that. And like I told the folk, you got to cut that stuff loose because it really will hurt you. Because these folks don't know what they're talking about. What stuff are you talking about?
Now, when you say cut that stuff loose, what stuff are you referring to?
I'm talking about going to school, public school.
Okay.
I'm talking about people need to start to homeschool their children. Europeans are doing it now, man. Europeans are at the point now. I just saw a piece on TV today where the parents are saying, look, first of all, I don't want my child in the public school system. Y'all have failed. You are not educating my child right. And I don't want him in a private or parochial setting because you charge upwards of like $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. Just like college tuition almost.
Yeah, the tuition and payment and bus fare and food fare and all the other stuff. And folks are saying no. Mm-hmm. So now parents, European parents, are opting to homeschool their children.
Right.
Now, that's not even from a cultural perspective. That's just simply the system has failed, and that is because they are not educating. Brother, I did a workshop on multiple intelligences on the east side of New York. Now, for those that understand New York, the east side of New York, the mid-east side, is the affluent community. This is where the peoples that have a great deal of money live, in Manhattan, in New York City.
Yes. Yes.
There was a center that was located in Midtown East Side that invited me, because I studied with Thomas Armstrong, who was the educational psychologist of Dr. Howard Gardner's Multiple Intelligences series. I studied with Thomas Armstrong, who was the educational psychologist when he came to New York. And out of this, it was known, the Harvard was called Project Zero. It was based in Harvard University. Howard Gardner, with Thomas Armstrong and others, went through staff development with teachers in the New York City system, and these New York City teachers were then sent to different systems, different schools, different community centers to assist the community, not the teachers, the community to understand multiple intelligences. I was chosen, which is interesting, I was chosen to come to this East Side Community Center to speak parents who were basically and fundamentally all European American parents. When I walked in the room and they found out that I was the facilitator, the look of shock was on their face. But I'm telling you this story for a reason.
Right.
At this time, the 8th grade parents were fighting the New York State educational system because they did not want their children to take the 8th grade science state test.
Okay.
Now, this has been happening for a while now. This doesn't happen overnight. And what happened to this situation was a parent who was one of the parents that was boycotting this state test. And I'm not going to let my child take the science state test. I don't care what you say. You see, European American parents have a different way of looking at things. They'll tell the state, I'm not going to cooperate. African American parents, not all of them, some of them, can be bullied to take the test for fear of something happening to them. When European parents know, you ain't doing nothing to me. So, one of the parents who was boycotting this state test, 8th grade science test, I was doing multiple intelligences with him. When it came time to comment, she raised her hand and she said, I just want you to know that I don't want my child taking a test. And she said, what you are offering us as it relates to multiple intelligences, this is what my child studies in this private school that this young girl was going to. And she said,
Okay.
I remember my daughter came home, and she had her friends. And what they did, I went out to the store, and she just mentioned the store, and she went out and she bought these things that are sticks and balls.
Mm-hmm.
And what she basically was saying is that her child and her friends after school were building atoms.
Wow.
Okay. Carbon atom was a certain color. The nitrogen atom was a certain color. The oxygen atom was a certain color. And what they would do is that, you know, the balls had little holes in them where they would literally put the sticks in and they would build atoms. So let's say that they built a carbon atom, it would have 6 carbon. You know, you'd have the nucleus, and you'd have the neutron and the proton in the middle, and then you'd have the electron. And so she said, my daughter, I tested my daughter and her friends, and they knew every atom that they had been told to know for their grade, which is 8th grade now. I know that my daughter knew the atoms. She said when my daughter came back and the state score came back, she failed that test. And she said, I know my daughter knows the atoms. I know my daughter knows the periodic table elements because I was the one that went out and bought those things for her. She said, but multiple intelligences doesn't say just to memorize the atoms. It says to build atoms, to do atoms,
right.
to make it
right.
so that you literally make what you're learning a living relational experience for the child. This is European-American parents talking to me now. This is not a group where there's African-American parents. There might have been one or two, because they do live on the east side, and there are quite a few African-Americans in New York that have money that live on the mid-east side. But the great majority of the parents, see, they really should have sent me to the Bronx or to Harlem. But see, they didn't know who I was. And they just knew I was part of Thomas Armstrong's contingent of teachers that had studied multiple intelligences, and they decided that they would send me to this, but they never saw me, whoever put the names out there. So they didn't know that I was an African-American from the Bronx that was going in there to do this stuff. So the point that I'm making is that the European-American parents are saying that the system is failing. Core standards have failed, man. They never even got up off the ground, and they've already failed. And I prophesied that would fail because core standards don't work. Common Core don't work. I worked on Common Core in Indiana. I worked on the state curriculum in Indiana. It didn't work then. It doesn't work now. When I would do staff development with the teachers of Indianapolis, I would look at them, they would look at me, and I would say, you know this ain't going to work. And every one of them said, I know it doesn't work, so why are they making us do this? And I said, I can't answer that, but I can answer how it can be done, but I'm going to answer you, it ain't going to work. And that's why they received me the way they did in Indianapolis, because I didn't tell them untruths. I wasn't trying to tell them this is going to work. This ain't going to work.
Right, exactly. Now,
the system is over.
Very briefly, for those that may not be familiar with this, explain what the Common Core standards are, Common Core state standards.
The Common Core state standards is the federal government's attempt at unifying the educational system across the country.
Okay,
and so that one state from another state, you could travel from one state to another state, and whether you were leaving New York and going to Chicago, you still would go into the same standard, whatever grade if you were in the 5th grade in New York, you went to the 5th grade in Chicago, you would be exposed to the same information. They are regulating the way in which teachers should be teaching. They are creating structures of education where we all, and see, this is what that whole thing about trying to marry the corporate world with the educational world. I was there with IBM when they tried to do it with us, and I told IBM this ain't going to work. They got pissed at me. But within 3 years, and I'm telling you, I was there with very powerful corporate people. And I was there also with people, because New York was one of the first places IBM tried to marry. See, because, again, this is going to be the privatization that's going to come down the road in a couple of years from the charter school.
Yes.
But they started this a couple of years back. They started this in the 90s, and I know because I was part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the spook who sat by the classroom door, brother.
Now, why'd you say? Now, you told them that this is not going to work. IBM. You told them that this is not going to work. Trying to marry the corporate world with the educational system. What was it actually that they were trying to do? Number one, and number two, why would it not work?
Well, they were attempting to create a relational structure as a school to a business. In other words, let's say you have IBM, and the person in charge of that particular, let's say you're dealing with banking, okay, in IBM.
Yes.
The person that would be in charge of banking is called the branch manager.
Yes.
They were trying to equate the branch manager with the principal of the school. They then would take the vice president or the assistant branch manager and make them the assistant principal. They were trying to align the business world with the academic world.
Okay, the structure, the
hierarchy. The structure. Now, I don't have a problem with that. That wasn't my problem. My problem comes from listening to a governor say that we are going to extend the school day and we're going to extend the school year. Thinking from a business perspective that if you are making computers and you work longer hours, you are going to create more computers.
Right, that's the problem. Yes.
Because more time, you have more time to make a machine. But when it comes to learning, more hours does not mean better learning.
Right.
Longer school years don't mean more learning.
Right.
You can learn something in a split second, in 4 seconds, in 4 minutes, in 4 hours, in 4 years, or you might take 40 years to learn something. Learning is not based on time on task. It's based on relational learning.
Right.
So that in IBM or in business is a product. More time will create more products. But from an intellectual perspective, more time does not mean more learning.
Right. And you know what, brother, take it a step further, because I've heard that argument before with the Detroit public school system. You know, they had that argument where to lengthen the school year and to lengthen the school day. But the drawback is teaching the same way that you're teaching them now, and it's not working. Just extending the school day and the school year is not going to make it better. You're still using the same broken system. It's just more of it.
That's it.
You see what I mean? And they're trying to do that to try to compete internationally. Germany, China, things like this, that have longer school years, longer school days. But you have to change the methodology. You have to change the method, the delivery system, because that's what is not working. Once you get that, if you want to, and let's face it, you and I both know, and a lot of the listeners know, the school year structure is antiquated and is based upon transitioning from an agricultural basis in America to an industrial basis, and this is why you have a 2.5-month summer break, because this is the time that the children will go out to work in the fields. Okay, so that's what that's based upon. So we know that's antiquated. We know that needs to change, and you know how, you know that my mother taught for 47 years in Detroit public schools. During that break, that 2.5-month break, a lot of the students get rusty, and then that first month back to school, a lot of times teachers have to spend that first month getting the students back to the point they were before the summer break started. So they lose a lot of time. So we know that's inefficient for the most part. And
to see the thing that I encourage is that neurons always need to be fired. There always needs to be connections. And my recommendation to our community is that the extended day programs, my recommendation for extended day programs, some people call after school. I don't call them after school because there's no such thing as after school.
Okay.
Because school is pre-womb to post-tomb. Life is school.
Right.
So this is why children get the impression that after 3 o'clock you don't have to study, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a lot that you can learn.
Right.
And I'm saying that we need to develop in our schools the trades that used to exist, the shop classes that used to exist. I am saying that we need to look at the grades and to adapt and to go into the community and bring a baker or a caterer or someone who who runs a restaurant to teach our children the math and the science and the language arts that's in cooking. We need to take plumbers and have the children learn the math and the science in plumbing. The same with tailoring. The same with all the other trades. In life, where are you going to use these things? Let the children explore their lives in the after-school program. In the summertime, they ought to be going to the park. That's when you should focus on biology and botany and chemistry and physics. The children should be that way. They would not be rusty when they come back in September. They're rusty because the perception is that this is vacation. I tell children, you're not on vacation. You just got a break. And what are you going to do during the break? It is not about playing the computer. You can do that anytime within moderation. We have an entirely slave master mentality when it comes to education. You see, white supremacy has permeated every facet of the Western world that we're living in. Everything has a master-slave mentality to it. Whether it is the principal to the teacher to the children to each other, that's the whole thing that bullying is based on. We have to change the structure of education. We have to just start all over again, because here's the problem. As you so rightly noted, it was the paradigm or outline for an agricultural system. They superimposed an industrial revolution on top of an agricultural clock.
Right.
But we're no longer in the industrial revolution. We are now in a technological revolution. The technological revolution is an outgrowth from the industrial revolution. The industrial revolution is an outgrowth from the agricultural revolution. And what has happened now is that not only was it wrong to put a technological or an industrial revolution, superimpose it on an agricultural model, we are now taking a technological revolution and placing it over an agricultural model. We're just saying if you spend more time in the field, you'll be able to pull more products out the earth. And that's not true, because that's what the technological revolution is showing. This is why there are so many jobs being lost.
Mm-hmm.
So that the entire structure is doomed to fail.
Yes.
I tell the community, go out and buy a workbook on the sun and start to study a concept called photovoltaics. Photo is light, voltaics is electricity. Photovoltaics is what comes forward from light. Take water, air, fire, and earth. Look at the power, the energy that comes out of the earth, and then begin to look at how you now can gain power from the sun. That's the next revolution. It's been around for a long time. It's just that peoples of European descent are ignorant to it. Our ancestors understood solar power. That's why the pyramids exist. That's why the Tekanus or the Oris exist. Their technology proves that they were aware of solar power. They had different names for the sun. the light and heat energy of the sun. They had a prayer to the sun called the Hymn to Aten.
Mm-hmm.
The next revolution for our people. In our after-school programs, make our children masters of the sun. Teach them about the sun, the photosphere, all the different parts of the sun, the core. Go into the core of the sun. Study the sun.
Exactly.
Light and heat energy from the sun, and then begin to study the jobs that can come from solar power, and then begin to create cadres of young people who are masters of the sun, who are going to be on the cutting edge of the future energy, which is the next step from the earth energy is sun energy. The next energy after that generation has to study the galaxy, and then the galactic energy comes after the sun, and then after that comes the cosmic energy, which comes out of the galactic energy. Galactic comes out of the sun comes from the earth. We have to go back to nature.
Right, I agree. Okay, we got to take a quick break here. Photovoltaics, how do you spell that so people can look that up?
PHOTO, photo, photovoltaics, VOLTAIC. S if you want to add.
Z as in zebra. Z as in zebra.
PHOTO, V as in Victor,
O
as in Oscar, L as in Leonard, T as in Thomas, A as in Apple, I as in Iguana, C as in Charles, S as in Shem.
S, okay, photovoltaics. Okay, so people can look that up. Okay, we got to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a few minutes. When we come back, we're going to go to the phone lines. If you have a question or a comment, give us a call. Area code 914-338-1375. Press the number 1 key to put you in queue so we can bring you on the air. Try to write down your questions so we can get through them quickly. We got Brother Kalindi on the phone, Ahati Kalindi Iyi. So we're coming to Kalindi. We're going to the 313, the 314, and the 301. Give us a call, 914-338-1375. Also join us in the chat room, blogtalkradio.com/The African History Network Show. We got Anthony Moore-L, Cosmic Knight, Cuddy Mac 2003, Granny Ganja, just a few people in the chat room chatting away. Lala Smith is in there. Sister Sunshine is always in there. Rajia Nua, Slow Jams Oz, New World Topics. Ja Boogie is still in there also, so join us in the chat room. Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, Brother KABA.
Hello, African History Network family. This is Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show. I want to let you know that 2 of my new lectures are available now. Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization.
Guess what time it is? It's tax time. G&G Associates Tax Preparation Services is a black-owned business focused on easing our clients' minds on all their tax preparation needs. We guarantee to beat any other tax professional's price. All new clients will receive a $40 discount. If you're a senior, you'll get a 20% discount. And all African History Network listeners will get a 15% discount. For more details, visit our website at www.gngassociates.net and click on the Taxes tab or call us at 877-220-8333. Again, the website is www.gngassociates.net.
Got body fat, obesity, overweight, constipation, gas, acid reflux, gout, edema, arthritis, and swelling? We've got just the product for you from the African Aloe Ferox plant. African Aloe Ferox bitter crystals drink and tea will help to regulate, cleanse, and detoxify your body, making you much more healthier and vibrant by balancing out your entire digestive tract. Try African Aloe Ferox by Alki Naturals. You can visit our website for more details and testimonials at www.alkinaturals.com. Remember, God may forgive you, but your body won't.
Many major and minor investors, which include the rich and the media, is not broadcasting to you the fact of total debt elimination, period, involving mortgage, student loan, credit card debt, the Internal Revenue Service, bank debt, and so on and so forth. For the solution to these problems and total debt elimination, go to www.newfreehelpgroup.com. That's www.newfreehelpgroup.com. Contact Tahaka at area code 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. That's Tahaka, 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Guess what time it is? It's tax time. G&G Associates Tax Preparation Services is a black-owned business focused on easing our clients' minds on all their tax preparation needs. We guarantee to beat any other tax professional's price. All new clients will receive a $40 discount. If you're a senior, you'll get a 20% discount. And all African History Network listeners will get a 15% discount. For more details, visit our website at www.gngassociates.net and click on the Taxes tab or call us at 877-220-8333. Again, the website is www.gngassociates.net.
Mod Hotep African History Network listeners, this is Michael M. Hotep, host of the African History Network show. I want to let you know that Saturday, January 18th, 2014, I'm doing a brand new presentation in Detroit, Michigan, but we're going to live stream it on Town Zone TV so you can watch it around the world. This presentation is entitled Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This is a presentation and discussion by myself, Michael M. Hotep. It's taking place Saturday, January 18th. 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the 5E Gallery located at 4605 Cass Avenue in Detroit, Michigan, right at the corner of Cass and Forest Street behind the church that sits right on the corner. You want to enter in through the Forest Street entrance and enter through the red door. This is a free event. Donations will be accepted. Once again, we're going to live stream this presentation as well through Town Zone TV. So visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com for all the details. It's only a donation of $5 to live stream it. In this presentation, we're going to do an introduction and overview to understanding the transatlantic slave trade. But before you can talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we first have to deal with African people being indigenous people to North, Central, and South America. Coming to North America going back at least 51,700 years ago, and South America at least 56,000 years ago. We have to deal with the Moors going into the Iberian Peninsula, today known as Spain and Portugal, in 711 AD, introducing civilization and science and mathematics, astronomy, nautical instruments, reintroducing the concept of longitude and latitude to Europeans so they can once sail again. And then we have to deal with Cristobal Colon, or Christopher Columbus, setting sail August 3rd, 1492, for the so-called New World. And his so-called discovery of the New World and his his voyages set the foundation for slavery, capitalism, exploitation of the indigenous people, especially African people, racism. This sets the foundation. So we have to understand a chronological sequence of historical events as opposed to looking at the transatlantic slave trade as just an episode that happened and a stain on the world and a stain on the history of America. So you don't want to miss this presentation. January 18th, Saturday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. at the 5E Gallery located at 4605 Cass Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. And we're going to live stream this as well through Town Zone TV. Visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com for all the details. For more information, you can also give us a call, 313-462-0003, or email us at theahnshow@gmail.com, theahnshow@gmail.com. We hope to see you there, Mod Hotep. And remember, right now, let's correct wrong behavior.
All right, welcome back to the Pro Hour Questions and Answers Show. Let's bring Brother KABA back on. Okay, all right, Brother KABA, you still there?
Yeah, brother, I'm here, man. You know, I heard that Kalindi is on.
Yes. Yeah, let me bring
You know,
him
last
on.
week, our brother Kalindi, called in, and he was talking about the role of memory and mnemonics and information like that. And I just want to tell you that following those next couple of days, good brother sent me information that I've just been getting into, like sites where you could go to study memory and, you know, just looking at how the mind functions as it relates to memory. And part of my presentation, part of the work that I do deals with the part of the brain known as the hippocampus, which is responsible for long-term memory. But in the work that Brother Kalindi had shared with me, it really was very informative. And, you know, going back to school, going back to studying, teaching, learning, living, memory, and how our ancestors were able to remember large amounts of information. You see, there should be forces that assist us. You see, learning is not just knowing things.
Correct.
So that memory and the role of memory and how to remember and how to fire up the neurons becomes very important. And the work that Brother Kalindi shared with me was phenomenal in what it allowed me to begin to do as it relates to even my own personal memories and the role that mnemonics has played, because I'm very much into mnemonics where you may have a sentence like he had recommended last week when I was talking about the order of operations, and I was saying the PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, and he had written back and said that an acronym, a mnemonic for that is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. The way I remember the, although that has to be altered because Pluto's not a planet, was my very educated mother, comma, just served us 9 pickles, okay?
Right.
And the letter of every one of those words represented one of the planets. So that mnemonics and memory and the role of memory plays a very important part of learning. And since Brother is on, and I would assume that he will speak to us, I just wanted to say that so that the community can understand the importance of the role of memory and the role that visuals, and particular the Meduneter, or hieroglyphs if you want to call them that, were mnemonics in so many different ways that they represented large pieces of information that may have come across as a particular pictograph, but they really could have been a book on biology or a book on a particular aspect of philosophy, so that it's so important we don't think like this anymore because our memories are not connected or associated with the way they used to be associated with our neurons years ago. We need to now reassociate what was disassociated by the coming of the Western world. We need to reassociate where they were associated before the coming of the Eurasian. I just wanted to say that hearing that Brother is on, and the phenomenal, man, I just thank the brother for sharing that information with me. I've already edited down the piece that he had shared with me that came from what's called the Dead what's the name of that group? It's called the Dead Media Archive on mnemonics. And even remembering the word mnemonics, man, you can remember mnemonics neatly eliminates man's only nemesis, and that would be insufficient cerebral storage. So, I mean, Brother Kalindi, I'm on it, brother, and I thank you so much for sharing.
Okay, let me bring him on. Okay, hold on. Let's bring Kalindi on. Okay, Kalindi, how you doing tonight, brother? Hotep.
Hotep. Peace, brother.
Hotep, brother.
I'm glad you enjoyed that information, and I knew it would help with the organization of your course and things like that. What I really want to say was, what I want to do just a quick comment on the educational piece.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that my whole take on it is that it's not the educational system isn't broke. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and I'm right. Sure. I brought in John Taylor Gatto a few years back, and the lecture was free to the teachers of the school that I brought him to lecture at, and not one of the teachers showed up. Number one, very small part of the community came, but he talked about a lot of the history of early education and things like that, compulsory education and things like that. But when you get into the Ford Foundation and Carnegie endowments and things like that, who really set up early education and brought it in from Prussia, which is basically Germany at the time, they set up the whole educational system, and all of the early educational gods in America, if you want to call it, went there, and they brought in the kindergarten to the PhD system. So it was brought in, I mean, really up until like the 1950s and maybe into the 60s, you had real teachers because they were part of the old system. The only system of education that ever worked in the United States or really in the world as far as compulsory education was the one-room schoolhouse. And that's where you produced in that one-room schoolhouse people like George Washington Carver, where you had 90 children basically flooding in and out of the school all day of different ages. You may have folks in there who were 6 and others who were 19, and the children taught each other, and they taught real-life subjects that went along with your ABCs and things like that. So I don't think the educational system is broke. I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do, create a bunch of confusion. It was basically about floor polish and light bulbs and using gas and, things like that. And it kept the children at a level to where they could read just good enough to, if the boss left a letter like, turn the big oven off at 6 o'clock, you could read good enough to do that. But you didn't really understand what you're reading. You have people who read, and they talk about reading. They wrote Johnny Couldn't Read in the 1930s. You have to be able to break a subject down into its component parts to be able to analyze it in your brain, and that's what creates the not just the neurons, but the dendrite connections, which are much more vast than the neurons themselves. So just getting off of that and getting into what Brother was talking about the Meduneter and it being mnemonic, that's the whole thing about a picture's worth 1,000 words, because there's so many things that are part of that we don't see because we're looking from a different vantage point as far as the way we see things and the way that the educational system has indoctrinated us into being able to look at in its relationship to the whole vastness of whatever scene it's inside of and how those things relate to one another. And each one of them has each picture has 1,000 points from it that connect to the other things, just like the neurons and the dendrite connections in the brain. It's the same thing with the Meduneter, and that's really when we get into that and we crack that open, then take it to the next level, which is the entheogenic part of that, where the Meduneter becomes animate, where the Meduneter comes off the wall, and they tell the story of what's going on there. That's really when the everything will change, and that's just what I want to say. But I appreciate, bro. Okay. You brothers tonight, and I'm listening. Thanks.
No problem. No problem. Well, and Kalindi, and before you go, Kalindi, we're gonna have to bring you back on to talk about that. We've interviewed you a number of times before. We'll have to bring you back on soon to talk about that, and also you, myself, Brother Marduk, and Brother Robert X, we're doing the meeting of the Master Teachers, 2014, February 28th through March 2nd. So people stay tuned for that. We're nailing down the location, but people stay tuned for that. It's going to be in Detroit, but stay tuned for that because that's going to be huge, man. But and brother. But go ahead, Brother Kaba.
No, man, I was just going to say to Brother Kalindi, man, I just appreciate the work that you're doing, brother. Keep on sharing and just keep on keeping on, brother, because you're dropping some stuff that really is activating my neurons, man. My dendrite to axon connections is happening, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. I'm listening.
Absolutely. Okay, brother. Okay, Lindy. Peace, brother. All right, let's go to Crystal, who's holding the line, Gaithersburg, Maryland. Let's see, get her on here. Oh, okay, Crystal, you still there?
Yes,
Crystal?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, I didn't have much to say. I just wanted to earlier with Dr. KABA was saying how it's important to make sure you're reading the correct books because you can waste a lot of time. And I want to thank him for sending me the list of books that he's been sending me through email so that I don't waste my time doing it because, by me just coming out of Christianity into African consciousness, I need that guidance. So I just want to say,
right.
I want to call it and tell him that I really appreciate him sharing that information. It's so important. So that's all I want to say. Mm-hmm.
No problem. Wonderful. No problem. And yep.
Mm-hmm.
And on just so people know, also in addition to his list of books on our website, theAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We list.
Yes, and I've been on there. I've been on there too, and I have a list of it, and I'm using that too. I've been using it too, and I'm going to be using it to get the book. So yeah, I've been on the African.
Right.
I've looked at those books as well. Yes, absolutely. It's a whole list of books, a whole lot.
Right. Yeah, we have a list of about 55 books, if I remember correctly. So when people go to the home page on the left-hand side, they look at the tabs, click on the tab that says book list, and then, you can get them. We don't sell the books, but I put together a book list for a lot of people who are trying to get started and don't know what to read, what have you, so they can go through and these are some books that list. Some of them will be some of the same ones Brother KABA has. He'll have some different. He'll have some that I don't have. I may have some that he doesn't have. What have you? But these are books. Most of these books I've actually read. So these are like really good books for people to check out. So people check that out as well. Okay.
Yeah, I'm reading the World's 16 Crucified Savers right now too. So
okay, Percy Graves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Get Christianity Before Christ also by Dr. John G. Jackson. And what you can do, I recommend that people get Pagan Origin of the Christ Myth, which is a pamphlet. It's a smaller book. It's about 31 or 32 pages by Dr. John G. Jackson as well, but it gives a good overview of the subject. So then when you read Christianity Before Christ, it's much easier to understand it because you've gotten a good overview of the subject.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, all right, no problem.
Hotep, sister, and the piece that we're talking about and how all of this is coming together with homeschoolers and with ways in which we can work with our early childhood children in particular. Mm-hmm. One of the things I'd like to stress, particularly because, I have a grandson. He is a little over at this point.
And what?
He's he just turned 2 in November.
Okay, 2. Okay, you were breaking up. Okay, he turned 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
My interest in him is not being able to read. What they are saying our children should be doing is not my interest. I am interested in developing a process of him being able to assimilate the world around him. And so, therefore, it comes from questioning techniques. And I use the concept of the food method. Food, F is factual. The first O is opinion. The second O is open-ended. And the third, the D, is descriptive. So I call it food. Here's an acronym again for, going back to what Brother Kalindi was saying in terms of just developing a way of learning. Factual.
Right. Give us that acronym again. Factual.
It's called food. F-O-O-D.
Yeah.
The F is factual, opinion, open-ended, descriptive. Those are basically 4 types of questions that you ask.
Mm-hmm.
Factual, there's a yes or no answer.
Right.
Opinion, there is no right and wrong answer. Open-ended always has what I call C, S-E-A, as a word in it. In other words, open-ended questions have the word some. Do you have some? The E stands for ever. Have you ever gone to Africa? And A stands for any, A-N-Y. Do you have any ideas as to how we can solve this problem? C, S-E-A. Some, ever, any are always related to the open-ended question. The D is descriptive, which almost always follows the open-ended question. Have you ever been to a country in Africa? If they should say yes, then I would then ask the descriptive question, describe where you've gone and what your experience was. If you say, no, I have not, you can then say, well, have you ever been any place outside the United States before? So that you have this food technique. So with my grandson, as I do with younger children, because, again, my license is in early childhood, so my focus has always been on children, young children, 3, 4, 5 years of age. And there are things that we're asking that deals with money. When Brother Kalindi says that they are not, the system isn't broken, it's doing exactly. In fact, it's working quite well, to tell you the truth, because it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is to miseducate and to confuse. However,
correct.
The bottom line is that with that concept, and when you're looking at this system, it's all about money. That's why they want the children in early childhood. That's why they want the children to be able to read. That's why, because books cost money. Really, what I want to do is, when I look at the 4 steps to what I call literacy, literacy is in everything that you do. I used to tell the teachers when I would do staff development, every teacher is a literacy teacher. I don't care if you're a math teacher, a social studies teacher. Literacy is the ability to comprehend what you know and apply it in some form in your life. And so the idea of asking these questions is to educare, to bring out of the child the ideas that they have, so that the 4 steps in literacy to me is the very first step is listening skill. When I teach my college course, one of the first questions that I tell my students is going to be on a test is, what is listening? Listening is a skill. If you look at the major problems around the world, it is because people are not listening to each other. They're not listening.
Yes.
They hear, but they listen. They look, but they don't see. They sniff, but they don't smell. In other words, they are not using that inner sense that allows them to listen. Listening is a skill. And when you are reading the oral tradition that was handed down in the various nations of Africa, when they handed down that story, they were creating a mental vocabulary, a mental conceptual framework. So therefore, going back to memory, when you read to a child, you then are able to deposit a neuronal connection. The neurons are connecting in that child's brain to the experiences through their senses that they're having with you. I'm not interested in them reading right away. That's something, reading is a skill that they can learn. Reading is a strategy. But they can learn that. That's all about decoding symbols. That's what that's about. Reading is really not that important. When you think of what's most important is to be able to comprehend and do something. I know a lot of people that phonetically can read, but if you ask them what it means, they have no idea.
The comprehension.
The comprehension and the act of knowing it within the context that you learned it to do something with it. And that should be one of your questions. After you learn how to add, what can you do with it?
Right.
And that's an opinion question. After listening, then comes speaking. This is where you take the memory aspect to the next level, because now you ask the child, what do you think was important about what I just said? Right. Because is going to make the child have to focus, because for that child to be able to answer the question, the child would have to focus on what you said and know it within the context to be able to respond back to you. To do that, they would have to have had a relational experience in their life that would tell you what it is that they can do with what they just heard you say. So it's the first step is listening, the second step is speaking. That's total. That is what the African oral tradition is based on, listening and speaking. After that comes the phonetical identification of the symbol of the sound that came out of your mouth, and that's reading, decoding. If I were to go to Germany, I don't speak German. If I were to go to Germany, and if I were to take a first-grade test on the pyramids of Kemet, there's a very good chance I might not do well on that test. Is it because I don't know first-grade level pyramids of Egypt? No. It's that I can't decode the German language. It's the same letters. It's the same alphabet, but something that is stopping me from being able to decode the way in which the letters have been assembled. If I were to talk about something blue in English, it would be B-L-U-E. If I were to say it in Spanish, it would be azul, A-Z-U-L. Same letters, but they're arranged differently to represent the same thing that I'm looking at. So the image, the visual remains the same, but the decoding of the description of what the visual changes. And so when we're teaching our children, reading is about decoding. It has nothing to do with their ability to be literate, because if I were to cover the picture and say to the child, what do you see? They would probably say, I see a boy that's chasing a dog that's chasing a ball. What color is the ball? It's red. Chances are the caption said the boy is chasing the dog that's chasing the red ball. The child is literate, but the child is literate visually. The challenge that the child has is to decode the symbols. Mathematics is the same thing. You're decoding symbols. You got to know what a plus sign is. You got to know you got to know the difference between a plus sign and the same sign that's used to represent a positive integer. You have to know square root. You have to understand the way in which the relationship of 2 squared, what does that mean? What does a big 2 with a little 2 up in the corner mean? You got to know that. That's decoding. That has nothing to do with your ability. And so these are the principles that our community has to bring back into that learning environment to let them understand that learning, okay, if you want to call it fun, you can, but getting smart, being able to be conscious is even better. And that's why you're here. But most importantly, what you're going to do with what you're learning. What's the purpose of it? And this is what the Dogon, the Dogon had those, well, they had 8 levels. But let's just look at the that are really focused on. The Jiriso, the word in the front. The Beniso.
Hey, let's do this, Brother KABA. We got to take a quick break. Okay, on the other side, let's continue with this, and then we're going to get the rest of these calls also on the other side of the break, okay?
Okay, brother.
Okay. You listen to the Pro Hour Questions and Answers show. Tonight we're dealing with, we're continuing the introduction, the Dogon Nation of Mali, West Africa, Introduction and Overview Study Guide Notes. Once again, if you have not downloaded the study guide notes, visit Brother KABA's website, pantherprints.com. pantherprints.com. You can download the study guide notes right there. They download a Microsoft Word format. If you can't print it up, you can just open it up and look at it right on your computer screen while you listen to the show, okay? If you have a question or comment, give us a call. Area code 914-338-1375, 914-338-1375. Press the number 1 key to put you in queue so we can bring you on the air. When we come back, we'll go to the 817 area code, 912, and we'll see who else is here. Okay. You listen to the Pro Hour Questions and Answers show. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Guess what time it is? It's tax time. G&G Associates Tax Preparation Services is a black-owned business focused on easing our clients' minds on all their tax preparation needs. We guarantee to beat any other tax professional's price. All new clients will receive a $40 discount. If you're a senior, you'll get a 20% discount. And all African History Network listeners will get a 15% discount. For more details, visit our website at www.gngassociates.net and click on the Taxes tab or call us at 877-220-8333. Again, the website is www.gngassociates.net.
Most people in the United States today do not know that prior to the turn of the century, we had 95% of the people inside the United States self-employed. But immediately after the turn of the century, we got 95% of the population working for just 5% of the population who just happen to be rich. If you do not follow your own mind and your own thoughts, you will follow the thoughts of the man that followed his. This above scenario is a result of people not minding their own business. For a business of your own to mind, go to www.tahakapowernomics.net. That's T-A-R-H-A-K-A, powernomics.net. Call me, Tahaka Manael Bay, 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We get you set up in your own business so you can mind your own business.
Got body fat, obesity, overweight, constipation, gas, acid reflux, gout, edema, arthritis, and swelling? We've got just the product for you from the African Aloe Ferox plant. African Aloe Ferox bitter crystals drink and tea will help to regulate, cleanse, and detoxify your body, making you much more healthier and vibrant by balancing out your entire digestive tract. Try African Aloe Ferox by Alki Naturals. You can visit our website for more details and testimonials at www.alkinaturals.com. Remember, God may forgive you, but your body won't.
Mod Hotep African History Network listeners, this is Michael M. Hotep, host of the African History Network show. I want to let you know that Saturday, January 18th, 2014, I'm doing a brand new presentation in Detroit, Michigan, but we're going to live stream it on Town Zone TV so you can watch it around the world. This presentation is entitled Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, What They Didn't Teach You in School. This is a presentation and discussion by myself, Michael M. Hotep. It's taking place Saturday, January 18th, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the 5E Gallery, located at 4605 Cass Avenue in Detroit, Michigan, right at the corner of Cass and Forest Street, behind the church that sits right on the corner. You want to enter in through the Forest Street entrance and enter through the red door. This is a free event. Donations will be accepted. Once again, we're going to live stream this presentation as well through Town Zone TV. So visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com for all the details. It's only a donation of $5 to live stream it. In this presentation, we're going to do an introduction and overview to understanding the transatlantic slave trade. But before you can talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we first have to deal with African people being indigenous people to North, Central, and South America. Coming to North America going back at least 51,700 years ago, and South America at least 56,000 years ago. We have to deal with the Moors going into the Iberian Peninsula, today known as Spain and Portugal, in 711 AD, and introducing civilization and science and mathematics, astronomy, nautical instruments, reintroducing the concept of longitude and latitude to Europeans so they can once sail again. And then we have to deal with Cristobal Colon, or Christopher Columbus, setting sail August 3rd, 1492, for the so-called New World, and his so-called discovery of the New World and his 4 voyages. His voyages set the foundation for slavery, capitalism, exploitation of the indigenous people, especially African people, racism. This sets the foundation. So we have to understand a chronological sequence of historical events as opposed to looking at the transatlantic slave trade as just an episode that happened and a stain on the world and a stain on the history of America. So you don't want to miss this presentation. January 18th, Saturday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. at the 5E Gallery located at 4605 Cass Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. And we're going to live stream this as well through Town Zone TV. Visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com for all the details. For more information, you can also give us a call, 313-462-0003, or email us at theahnshow@gmail.com, theahnshow@gmail.com. We hope to see you there, Mod Hotep, and remember, right now, let's correct wrong behavior.
Welcome back to the Peron Kyle Questions and Answers Show. Okay, Brother Kaba, before the break, you were going to break down the 8 elements you were talking about dealing with the Dogon. Go ahead, and then we'll go to the phone lines. We have a sister from Texas, and then we have Adrian in Albany, Georgia. Go ahead, Brother Kaba.
Well, I'm going to be real quick because I really do want to get back to the community and their questions.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Jidi So, word on the front. Benny So is the word on the side. Bolo So is the word in the back. And So Dai is the clear word, the word that's on the inside. It developed their educational system that took the learner from birth, from pre-womb to post-tomb, from infant child to elder scholar. It took them through the entire process that developed an educational system that I believe that we could use today. Of course, take the 21st century, take our experience where we are, but we would be able to utilize the universal principles that the Dogon used and also the Kemite. But this is something that I visit communities and I attempt to get them to look at, to take them through the process. Fundamentally, I want to be grounded in academic excellence, genius.
Yes.
But I want to do it in a way that is user-friendly for the African mind, because this system is not only not friendly for the African mind, it is not friendly for anybody's mind. It's only friendly to make money.
Yes. I understand that, brother. And you know what, man? Speaking of making money, we're gonna go to the phone lines. I've been reading this book. You know, I was in December 31st and February. It's December 31st and January 1st, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I was down in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, with the National Black United Front of Kansas City and the African Village of Kansas City, Missouri. Dr. Umar Johnson was down there for a couple of days for their Kwanzaa festival, and I went down there to the Kwanzaa celebration. I went down there to be a vendor. But one of the vendors there was selling, he was with the Nation of Islam and selling books and DVDs from Mr. Farrakhan, things like this. But I bought this book. We just added this to our book list on the AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I guess this is number 57 now. How White Folks Got So Rich, the Untold Story of American White Supremacy. How White Folks Got So Rich, the Untold Story of American White Supremacy. And this is put together by the Nation of Islam Research Group. Okay, people can go to noirg.org, noirg.org. If they want to get it, it's only $6. But this book right here, you talked about getting rich and things like this, man. This book right here, brother, it deals with all the history of all the laws and public policies and things like this that created wealth for Europeans and excluded us from it. Like, so even things like the Social Security Administration, Farmers Home Administration Act, things like this, unemployment insurance, all types of things like this. Homestead Acts of 1862 and 1866. It breaks all of that stuff down. So these are things, brother, that we really need to understand, because some of the same people who benefited from this would tell us to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, but that's not how they created wealth for themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, so we really have to understand the history, man, of what happened, brother. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, we'll go to the phone lines now. We'll go to the sister in Texas here in the 817. Okay, go ahead, sister. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and go ahead with your question. Calling 817. Are you there, sister? Assalamu alaikum. Are you there? The 817 area code. If you're on a cell phone, press the mute button. Maybe you muted it because you're on the air live, waiting on you. Okay. We'll come back to her. We'll come back to you. Maybe she got a call from Denzel. Maybe she's on another line. I don't know, man. So we'll come back to her. Let's go to Adrian in Albany, Georgia. Adrian, are you there?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Adrian. Go ahead.
Okay. I just have I have two questions, but the main question, I wanted to know. I have a 5-year-old child. He's a boy, and he's having trouble with addition and subtraction, learning the addition and subtraction in school. And I was wondering if there was a technique, or could you direct me to a resource or something that would show me a technique so I can teach him and he can grasp this?
One thing that I would recommend that you can do right away is if you can get a hold of the Final Call. There's a brother named that's known as Dr. Math, Brother Muhammad. He advertises a series of DVDs in the Final Call.
Okay.
That's one thing you can do. The other thing is when your young man is adding and subtracting, is he aware of what it is when you start to put things together? The best way that I've learned to do it is to do it with actual objects. I recommend that we use African symbols. There's something I'm going to begin to go, when I start doing presentations, I'm going to begin to use African symbols as those things that you count. We need to stop counting bears and balloons and all that other abstract stuff. We need to get our jewelers or our toy makers to make Ankhs and Sankofa symbols and Akan symbols, Kemetic symbols. We need to begin to have our children use objects to count, so that if you're a young man to understand using the base 10 system, the first thing to do is to, how old is he, by the way?
He's 5.
Yeah. My sister, all children blossom at certain ages. I'm not too concerned. I'd be concerned if you told me he was 15. But 5 years of age, things happen. Children blossom. They grow. And so I would just make sure he understands what the numbers from 0 to 9 are. And then I would begin to have him count actual objects, so that he would be able to count Ankhs. And in the interim of getting these objects, you can make them. You can get Ankhs, and you can draw Ankhs on a piece of paper, cut them out, glue them, make it an arts and crafts activity, and you can start to lay out. Let's say you have you count out that there are 0 Ankhs, which means that there are no Ankhs, and then you put 1 there, and then 2 there, and then 3 there. And then you take the child from the process of knowing 2, having 2 Ankhs, you show him the symbol for 2.
Okay.
And you take him through the process of just understanding. You might start by just asking him, what does he like? If you notice that he likes, let's say he likes trucks, or let's say he likes, the cars, or whatever it is that he enjoys, start with what he likes.
Okay.
Sometimes children, he might play with Lego. You might take out a number of Lego pieces and have him start to count the Lego pieces, and then show him what the number 2 looks like. When you have 2 things, this is what it looks like. You can go to Barnes & Noble, or you can go to any of the other stores, and you can actually purchase books that can help you with that. But my thing is to stay as close to the African tradition, because when you show him these symbols, you are immersing him in the culture that the symbol comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend that you can do it at home. I've had classes where I just have parents draw Ankhs. I give them the outline of the Ankh. They cut it out. You can paste it to a piece of cardboard. I don't have to be perfect. You can go to other African symbols. You can go to pictures. You can go to pictures of Malcolm X. You can go to pictures of Fannie Lou Hamer. How many pictures of Fannie Lou Hamer do you have? And you can lay out 5. And if you took 2 pictures away, that's subtraction. You say, well, I took 2 away, and this is what the symbol for takeaway looks like, or subtraction. You put that there. See, they need to learn decoding. They need to know what these symbols represent. But first they have to know the symbol and then what it represents, and then they can be brought through the process. Sometimes it's very tedious. Sometimes it's an over and over activity that you have to do. Now, there comes a point in time where you might seek counsel if it gets to that point. I think the very first thing is to expose them. I'll tell you another story. With my own children, they would come home from school, and they would say, Daddy, I don't understand, let's say, long division. And I would say, well, did your teacher teach it to you today? She said, no. And then I would teach. That's called teaching for the first time. Sometimes children are held because teachers are afraid because of the core standards that they're supposed to be someplace. They'll give the children homework in an area where they might not have taught it. So the first step is teaching for the first time. Okay. Child comes home, says, Daddy, I don't understand. I said, well, did your teacher teach it to you? She said, yeah, but I still don't understand it. That's when you get tutorial. That is when you tutor the child. And my first question to my children was, where did you stop understanding what the teacher was telling you? So instead of starting at the very beginning, I got a sense of where my child may have not been able to connect and understand. And she would tell it to me, and then I would start a process. I'd stop a few steps in front of that and then take them through the process. Third scenario, my child comes home. Said, Dad, I don't understand. I said, did your teacher teach it to you? Daughter said, yeah, its teacher taught it. I said, well, did you raise your hand and ask a question and tell her you didn't understand it? Yes, I did. And she even asked me to come by during lunch, and she'd explain it further. I said, did you do that? Yes, she did. That's the tutorial step. I said, and you still don't understand it? No, I don't. That's when you need remedial. Remedial means to approach it from a perspective that is different from the way the child learned it. Because sometimes children learn things from different perspectives. They don't always learn it the way the teacher is going to teach it, and they don't learn it because you just did it 800 times after that. There's an entry point of assimilation of knowledge that sometimes is in a different direction. And normally I always look towards what the child is interested in. One more story, my sister, because I think what you're asking me is important, and I think that what you're asking me, many people who may be listening might also have the same question. When I was teaching reading in the early childhood years, I had a young man who was not getting the decoding of reading. Nothing was helping this brother learn. Not teaching for the first time, not tutorial, not remedial. Okay. Mother comes in, and I speak to Mother, and I say, is there anything that he really enjoys? And she said, no, there's nothing he enjoys, but I can tell you that his father picks him up every other week, visitation. And his father, my ex-husband or the baby daddy, enjoys bowling. I said, okay, so the child enjoys bowling. And he really looks forward to it because it's a time that he can be with his dad, because that's really what he and his dad do every 2 weeks when he comes pick him up. They go bowling, they hang out. Okay. Good man. Okay. I'm down in Times Square in New York City, which is a major metropolis. I pass a bookstore, and there's a magazine on bowling that I happen to glance at, and I see. I go in and I buy the bowling magazine. I come back to class in the Bronx, and I'm there. I see the young man, and I call him in my office. I say, tell me this. Have you ever heard of this magazine before? And, I mean, his eyes light up because it's about bowling. He don't know what bowling looks like, so he can't read the word bowling, but he sees the bowling ball and the pins. His eyes light up. I say, wow, okay, I got a little reaction here. And so I'm saying to him, I said, look at this, and I'm showing him pictures and things like that, not getting heavy, showing it to him. And then it's time for him to go to class. I said, okay, I'll see you later. And he says, can I just borrow this magazine? I said, yeah, sure. He's third grade. I said, sure. He takes the magazine. Long story short, I used that bowling magazine to introduce him to the decoding of symbols because he was so interested in bowling because of his dad. He was so interested in bowling, that was the point of his entrance into decoding, and he became a reader. Was he prolific? I'm not going to say that. But that started him on the road to decoding, and I would imagine he was successful. He did not have the problems he had before. I'm not saying he was the number one in his class, but it was a way in. Whatever a person's interest in, and that includes you and me, if I'm interested, I'm going to take an extra step to understand it. And that was the apprenticeship in Africa. You found what you were interested in, and you became efficient and effective in that area. So I recommend that you begin a process of observing this young man, find out the things that he enjoys. Whatever it may be that he enjoys, that may be his entrance into addition and subtraction. But the first thing in being able, before you can add and subtract, you have to be able to identify the symbols, the siphons of numbers. He has to know 2 represents 2 things, 7 represents 7 things. So you may have to step back, get a book from Barnes & Noble, or, as I say, get these different ways that you can make them yourself, arts and crafts. He can make them himself. He may like that even better. But that's up to you, my sister. But that might be what I would recommend you consider doing. It makes sense to you, my sister?
Yes, it absolutely does. Thank you so much.
Okay, my sister. Hey, please call in again and let me know how things work out. I'd be interested to see how things work out with you.
Absolutely, I'll do that.
Good luck to you, my sister.
Okay,
Thank you.
hey, Adrian, how'd you find out about the show tonight?
How did I find out about the show? Okay, I just recently was introduced to Hidden Colors, the documentary about Black history, and I've been watching that, and I have been watching videos on YouTube by Dr. Umar Johnson, and I think I saw a link or something. I just been following leads everywhere, because I want to know this stuff for myself. Just like Dr. Johnson says, don't just take it because he says it. Follow up and know the knowledge for yourself, investigate it, and know that it's true because you followed up or whatever. So just following leads and just clicking on stuff. And I found it. I actually listened to it last week. It was my first time listening to it, and this week.
Okay, good. Okay, and then Thursday night, be sure to tune into the African History Network show, Thursday night, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. So tomorrow night, be sure to tune into that as well, okay? All right. Well, keep listening, sister. I'm glad you tuned in. Tell your friends about it as well, and visit us on our Facebook like page, the African History Network, because we post a lot of information there, a lot of articles, and then you can follow Brother KABA on Facebook at KABA KAMENE, KABA KAMENE, 2 words, KABA KAMENE. All right?
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
All right, keep listening. All right, no problem. Peace. Keep listening. All right. I thought we had another caller from the 313-999. Maybe they call back in, but calling for if anybody else was on the line that had a question, press the number 1 key so we can bring you on the air if you actually have a question. If not, just keep listening. Okay. I pulled this out. You mentioned Brother Shahid Muhammad, Brother KABA, and we met him at the Liberated Minds Black Homeschool Conference in Atlanta back last June. I don't know if you already knew him. That was my first time meeting him. But he he advertises in the Final Call magazine. So he's known as the Math Doctor, and I'm looking at an issue of the Final Call right now, just so people know. He has DVDs on basic math, general math, algebra 1, algebra 2, statistics, probability, and measurement. This is a animated DVD. Geometry, animated preschool math. He has a DVD on preschool math. ACT math preparation, why we must master math, math test. He has a math test prep DVD. This is middle school math. He also has primary math. So this brother has a lot of stuff. So check out the Final Call newspaper. And also, you can also go online and order it from store.finalcall.com, which is the Final Call's store. If you just go to Final Call and check out the store on there, they'll have them there. He gave me his card because we talked. I got to get him on the show, man. I've been meaning to do that. Because that brother, the presentation he did, man, was phenomenal at the homeschooling conference. I don't know if you saw it, man, but that presentation he did, man, was phenomenal. And also, they're doing the homeschool conference again this year. I don't know if they already contacted you or not, brother, but it's at the same location, the Omega World Center, headquarters for Omega Psi Phi Fraternity in Atlanta. And I got to pull up the date. Oh, it's July 18th through the 20th, Friday, July 18th through Sunday, July 20th. So people check out LiberatedMindsExpo.com, LiberatedMindsExpo.com. I'm going to be there again. If you're interested in homeschooling, I'm telling you, you should be at that conference. I mean, because that conference last year was phenomenal, and that was just the second one they did. So this time they're going to learn a lot from last year. So I know it's going to be huge, this year as well, brother. So hey, let me see if we have any more callers. Did I get them or not? Oh, okay. Let me try the sister again. Okay, because I think she was on two lines. Let's try this again. Just a second, brother. Okay, calling the 817. I think this is Texas. Sister, are you there?
Yes, my brother. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead quickly.
Yes, my brother. I would like to say humbly to the word familia means family, and the word manataka, Asiatic more, or a muru. And so I am what you call a Cherofatos when you were saying the word us, trail, and then the word Asiatic, and then the word far, America, covers Australia, Asia, Africa, and the word America. And I just like to say, 8 years ago, I had a stroke explosion in my brain. And I was a historian, and I had written over 100,000 documents. And I had to learn by face cards. And when you was talking about the vortex, I said the siete meaning 7 of the brain. I teach over 9,000 languages, but I start everybody off with siete 7. And going through that process in the brain, what I call the wet bone, dry bone, meaning one bone, meaning 13-1. And so when I had to learn from the face cards and then connect every letter, every word, every phrase, every meaning. And so that's what I do now with the Rich Veta, the Toro, the Bible, and Quran, Koran and Quran. And so I would like to say to my brothers and sisters that you are what you call Ta Tichi Akawa, meaning Tati Achikawa, meaning you are masters, teachers in the word food. I have the saying that I do. The When I'm You means the ATL, the Asiatic Talk Language. When I'm You is the word reading I read for 54 years. Been educating on, I always read from the right to the left, the Arabiya and the Hebrew, HIBRU. And so I just would like to say that as an educator myself, that I am so proud of the show to bring what I call expansion of the orgasmic organism, which is the brain. And so this is what I use for the ATL, the Asiatic Talk Language. And so that's what we go into. I teach the quantum physics of the universe, which is the land, the language, the law, and the word love. turn it around and read it from the right to the left, the word evolution of oneself. And as my brother said the word food, I always say, first, our own data, meaning existence when he was going into the quantum physics of the neutrons, electrons, proton cells. And as we were born in creation, first with everything that we need. And so I would just like to say, as an educator myself, as you were saying, having a conference of the intelligentsia to come to the United States, Asia, because a lot of our people don't even know when we say that word European or Europe. But if you say the word radiocarbon DNA, meaning portal-pods, means portal don't mean how we travel, how we said folklore of the places of the data systems. And so working on with the systems, I would just like to say I would love to come and be a part of the familia, the family, and you also heard of the Seed Dropper Homeschool Network with Madame Shabazz and Madame Heaven. And so I would like just to say I thank my brothers and sisters for bringing forth the expansion of the orgasmic organism, which is called the brain.
Right. Okay, sister. All right. Thanks for calling in. Okay. Keep listening. Okay.
Yes, my brother. Thank you so much, Shaquan.
Hotep.
Okay, sister. Peace. Hotep.
Hotep.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, brother. How much more time you have, Brother Copper? Because we're about 19 minutes away from top of the hour for midnight on Eastern Standard Time. So we got a couple more calls. Try to get through. You have more time. You okay on time?
Okay, man. Let's let the calls come through, brother.
Okay. All right.
But you know, can I just
go ahead.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to take this time to give all praise to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and today being his birthday. Before we get to that 12 o'clock when it won't be his birthday anymore. And I just find it so interesting how little has been said about the fact that today is his birthday, January 15th. And I just wanted to wish that brother, you know, a cosmic Earth Day, and I thank him for all of the work that he did and all the sacrifices he made to contribute to our world and be that powerful figure that he was, and in many ways still so misunderstood. And I give to him and to people such as our brother Nelson Mandela, who, as we look and we call ourselves many different things, but when you're in those shoes, the decisions you make are very different from when you're not in those shoes. And I just wanted to wish him and recognize him for all that he did for us. And I know that he certainly helped shape who I am as an individual. He was a point of pride for me. He was someone that looked like me, that was speaking on my behalf, and who I heard him say that he was black and that he was beautiful and that he was proud to be black and not to let anybody make you think anything less than that about yourself. And so that I just wanted to say that so that before the 12 o'clock hour comes, I just wanted to thank him for all that he did and to let him know that we and the African History Network and the work that you're doing and us collaborating like this is continuing the work that he's doing. And I honestly and truly believe that what he said is one of the fundamental principles, along with Malcolm X and what he said. When it comes Malcolm time, I'm going to talk about something he said that was dramatically important. But one of the things that Dr. King said that keeps me going every day, no matter what I may see, no matter what I question, no matter what I'm wondering about, there is one thing that Dr. Martin Luther King said, and it was one of the last things that he told us in that 1 minute and 19 seconds he spent with us on that fateful day of April 3rd, 1968. And he said that we as a people would get to the promised land and that we would get there. And I believe we're getting there. I believe that what you're doing, Brother Imhotep, with the African History Network is part of that process towards the promised land. The work that we are doing, the work that Brother Kalindi is doing, the work that Brother Dr. Malik Zulu Shabazz in Detroit is doing, the work that Malik Shabazz, the lawyer from D.C. is doing. All of that.
That's Malik Zulu. That's Malik Zulu Shabazz in D.C. and Minister Malik Shabazz here in Detroit, but it's
and
okay.
I want to make that differentiation because they are two different people, but they are heading in the same direction. And I just want to let us understand that no matter what you see going on out here, no matter what our community sees, no matter what you may question, no matter what our turmoil may be, we will get to the promised land by any means necessary. And it's important to understand that this ain't over until we win. It's not about, it's about when. Dr. King said he wasn't going to get there with us. There may be some of us who don't get there at the point that we get there. But if we just keep on doing what we're doing, we will get to the promised land. And I just thank my brother, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, our ancestor. All praise due to the Creator and the ancestors for blessing us with that brother on the planet to do what he did. And I'm ashamed to think that I would ever not continue the saga of the emancipation and liberation of our people by any means necessary.
Correct. Shay. Okay. All right. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, brother.
I know all of you are studying hard and you're just doing fine in school, and I'm glad to see you.
In the last 2 months of his life, Dr. King faced the idea that civil rights alone could not solve the problem of poverty.
In Mississippi today. Okay, thank you.
He roamed the South, trying to gain support for Poor People's Campaign. Its goals: full employment, a guaranteed income, and decent housing for every American.
People just don't know, but it's really hard. Not only me, it's so many more in the same shape. I'm not the only one. It's just so many of us right around. It's just no have shoes, clothes. It's naked and hungry. Part time you have to cook your pinto beans morning, down, and supper. They don't know where else get a good meal.
You all are really to be admired. And I want you to know that you have my moral support. I'm going to be praying for you. I'm going to be coming back to see you. And we are going to be demanding when we go to Washington that something be done and done immediately about these conditions. Yes.
This was a different Martin Luther King. Just weeks before his murder, in tones suggestive of the Black Panthers, he began to talk about how the government had broken its promise to the newly freed slaves just after the Civil War.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
American Negro collectively is richer than most nations of the world. We have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. Did you know that? That's power right there if we know how to fool.
We should own and operate and control the economy of our community. We have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. and then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a rundown community. Why, you run it down yourself when you take the dollar.
We've got to strengthen black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and deposit your money in Tri-State Bank. We are telling you to follow what we are doing. Put your money there. You have 6 or 7 black insurance companies here. Take out your insurance there. Now, these are some practical things that we can do. We begin the process of building a great economic base. We've got to give ourselves to this struggle until the end. We've got to see it through.
So our people not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business. And once you and I go into business, we own and operate at least the businesses in our community. What we will be doing is developing a situation wherein we will actually be able to create employment for the people in the community.
The black man must unite in one grand racial hierarchy, making a racial empire upon which the sun shall never set. Be black, buy black, think black, and all else will take care of itself.
All right, welcome back to the Pro Kaba questions and answers hour. Okay, let's get Brother Kaba back on. We'll go back to the phone lines. Okay, Brother Kaba, you still there?
Yeah, brother, I'm here, ready to go to the phone line.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have Brother Stiletto in Little Rock, and then we're coming to Sister Zawati in St. Louis, Missouri. I was just down in St. Louis. Okay, Brother Stiletto, go ahead with your question, brother.
Peace, man.
Yes, sir. Does the age of Aquarius has to do with us as black people coming up out of our slumber and sleep and waking up? There was a song that was sung by the Fifth Dimension, and it seems like the words that they were singing in that song, it seems like it had something to do with us, and also Fifth Dimension has something to do with the change of a spiritual state. I don't know much about it, so if you can kind of give me some insight on what's going on with that, I would really appreciate it. And peace and blessings.
Okay, Brother Hotep, thanks for calling in. Go ahead, Brother Kaba.
Yeah, Hotep, well, what I was going to say, quite frankly, was that when that entire constellation was put into place and when it was developed, it's what we're dealing with is the precession of the equinoxes, which is a 26,000 calendar. There's a place in Kemet, southern Kemet, known as Nabta Playa, Nabta Playa. You can get more information on that if you Google that word, Nabta Playa. And basically, it is a 26,000 years. It has 12 houses, which basically are the constellations that we know of, but they go backwards. In other words, we go from Aquarius to Pisces to Aries. Well, the precession of the equinox goes Aries to Pisces to Aquarius. So 2,000-something years ago, we were leaving the house of Aries, which was the ram, going into the house of Pisces, which was the fish. And we are now going from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of water, knowledge, wisdom, but really getting back into the very origins of all things, which is water. And it is basically an understanding that every house of the 12 signs is 2,160 years in length, times 12 becomes 25,920. And basically you have 80 years to sort of kind of play around with as it relates to rounding off the 26,000 year. So that when you speak of does it have to do with us, it has to do with us because when that was developed, we were the only people on the planet. There was no other people around. So it was us developing a way that we could look at the systematic breakup of our cosmic universe in order to be prepared for it. And what's interesting is that Pisces, being Jesus, being the resurrected one, the idea of the child of the ram being born of Pisces, the idea of the ram, the son of the ram, the son of God, is a lamb. And it's interesting that Jesus was called the Lamb of God, who would take away the sins of the world. which is basically understanding white supremacy, which right now, to me, is the sin of the world. And going into the age of Aquarius is not just for peoples of African descent, but it is for all universal thinkers who are ready to move out of this pit of hell that the Western civilization has created for the family. And it is a great lesson in life, because once we get out this pit, I dare us to fall back in. Don't fall for that okie doke, and don't play with those games that has been put to us, and let's move forward. So in many ways, yes, it is us, it is for us, and by us. We did it. And then the peoples of the world came into existence because Africans left the Garden of Eden, which basically is Africa, if you want to look at it like that, and moved to other parts of the world. And then they changed their morphology, which is body type, and their phenotype, which is their physical characteristics, nose, mouth, hair, skin complexion. But when that was developed, the only people on the planet were African people. So, yes, brother, it is us. And get ready.
Absolutely.
Because it's all around us right now. And what's interesting is that we're not even doing it. They're doing it to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And to take it just take it a step further, and then we'll go on to Sister Zawati in St. Louis, Missouri. But if people look up Pope Hadrian the First, you can go to Answers.com and search for Pope Hadrian the First. Coming out of one of their council meetings around 795 or 796 Common Era, it was decided that the Lamb of God would be taken off of the cross and Jesus the Christ would be put on the cross. Because up until then, they had the Lamb of God on the cross. And all you have to do is just Google the Lamb of God on the cross. You're going to see paintings. You'll see crucifixes. You'll see actual, metal crucifixes on a chain, things like this, with the Lamb on the cross and not Jesus the Christ. But when you do the research, you find it was late 8th century that they put Jesus the Christ on the cross. And you have to understand that whole story of Jesus the Christ, where Yeshua, because the letter J wasn't even invented at that time. It wasn't in. Okay, so the letter J wasn't even invented at that time. Looks like we lost Brother Kaba. Brother Kaba, call back in. Letter J wasn't even invented until 1630 AD as well. So if you read the Historical Origin of Christianity by Dr. Walter Williams, Chapter 9 deals with the whole history of the letter J also. Okay, so we're waiting on Brother Kaba to call back in. And let's go to Sister, let's see, Sister Zawati is still on the line. Let's go to Sister Zawati while we're waiting on Brother Kaba to call back in. Okay, Sister Zawati in St. Louis, you still there?
Peace and love. Yes, I am.
Okay, sister, go ahead. Go ahead with your comment.
Peace and love, guys. I just wanted to express my gratitude for, all the work that you guys are doing. I had just gotten off work, and I was kind of late coming in, but I'm really excited. I've been on a journey of trying to find out who I am and what I'm connected to for about 4 years now. I'm 27, and it has been really, really hard for me for a while because I was kind of ashamed a little bit because everything that I saw about us was negative, and growing up where, Black empowerment wasn't really taught to me. It was like I kind of had to go on the journey on my own. And as far as the education was concerned, I'm reading Know Thyself by Naeem Akbar. And just thinking about the education and how we don't really get, taught the legacy of competence, like our heroes. And, I learned about Noble Drew Ali last year, and it's just like, wow, we come from such a rich heritage, and, we are just awesome compared to, like, the stuff that I'm learning now. And I'm just, like, really encouraged. And I'm kind of just sharing what I learned. But I'm just, like, really excited to learn. I have watched Hidden Colors, and it just blew my mind. Like, I watched it, like, 7 times. I'm, like, inviting people over my house to watch it. And I'm like, guys, look at this. So it's just, like, I'm really excited. I'm really, really thankful for everything that you guys are doing. I'm just thankful. I just wanted to thank you guys so much because it's really, really helping me grow, really tapping into my higher self from going back, you know.
Right. Well, thank you, sister. Thank you. And we got Brother KABA back on the line also. Go ahead, Brother KABA. Do you want to comment?
Well, you know, I just wanted to comment on Sister's comment on the fact that, you know, we all, if you have not been made aware of your history and your culture, that it is okay for you to have had the feelings that you had and the feelings that we all had, but by the grace of God, considering what they've done to us as a people, that, I mean, we have really, you know, we are in a really great position right now. So I ask us to forgive ourselves of whatever we may have or may not have done, because quite frankly, that is what we all grew up in. I grew up in certain things that I know I look back now, I say, wow, you know, compared to where I am now, I wasn't there then. But This is the way the world functions. So the real key is, what do you do from this point on? And how can we make things happen from this point on? And that, I think, is what's so important, because you are here, you do know this about your history and your culture, and it is now time for you to take it. And you are still very young to be able to capitalize on many of the things. And even if when I speak to elders, I tell them, you know, it is never too late as long as we breathe and you turn your attention to the fact that you know who you are. You know, it's just a very powerful thing. My sister, did you say you're from St. Louis?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah, because I'll be visiting the St. Louis community the weekend of February 8th. I'll be out in the New African Paradigm.
Yes, I'll be there. Yes, sir.
I'll be there, too.
Okay, yeah, we're going to have a great time. And, you know, like I say, my sister, this is a wonderful time for us. We are waking up. We are moving to that point, and I think that you're doing a great job. Just keep on doing what you're doing, you know, and share the wisdom. Keep inviting your friends up and keep exposing them to information. And those that can take it, let them take it. And those that may not be ready, well, maybe next lifetime, like Erykah Badu said.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Thank you so much.
Hotep, my sister.
Okay,
keep on
sister,
keeping
no
on.
Problem. Hotep, and looking forward to meeting you in St. Louis, sister. Tell your friends about it. Come on out, February 8th, New Paradigm Study Group. We'll talk about that more because Brother James Stewart is going to send me the flyer.
Okay.
And if you follow us on Facebook, the African History Network, our Facebook-like page, we'll have information in there also. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, sister. Peace. Okay. Okay, I think that's all the calls. All right. So, Brother KABA, where are you going to be this weekend and this next following week?
Well, the next time that I'm going to be moving out of New York City and doing things will be the weekend of February. I believe it's February 1st is a Sunday. I'll be in Baltimore, and we'll be doing an activity in Baltimore, and it's going to be. Let me see. It starts at. I'm trying to see. It's going to be at the Maggie Quill Druid Heights Community Center. That's 2140 McCullough Street in Baltimore. February 2nd is the date. Sunday, February 2nd, I'll be there. February 1st, Anani Kulu Fatu will be speaking. The Resurgence of African Youth. It's a 2-day event. February 1st, 2014, 6:30. Event starts at 7 p.m. That's Saturday. It's free to the public. 2140 McCullough Street. The next day, I'm going to be doing something on African-centered education in the 21st century, culture, curriculum, consciousness. February 2nd, doors open at 4:30. The event starts at 5, and dinners will be sold, and they're asking for a price of $15 for admission, and that's going to be quite a powerful weekend. The following weekend, I'll be in St. Louis with the New African Paradigm, and we'll be doing things there. But we'll talk about that once the weeks go on. But right now, I've been doing research on the periodic table of elements. I've been doing work on Edward Bruce Bynum's book, Dark Light, And I've been doing some extensive work on my good brother, our good brother, Dr. David Imhotep's book, The First Americans Were Africans. I've been really getting into research. When I'm not going out doing presentation, this gives me a chance to really focus in on some of the work that I have to be doing. And so these last couple January is giving me the chance. February I'm out. I'm not going to be coming back from St. Louis. I'll then be going to Carbondale, Illinois, and then to Philadelphia, and then I'll be going to Patterson, New Jersey, and March, South Carolina. So we're going to travel after January. But this has given me a chance
I know.
and hang out with the children, my wife, my grandson, and just hang out, have a good time. But now it's about to get back on the road to share with the community.
Well, February is African American History Month, so it's a busy month, man. I know what you're talking about. But coming up, let's see, my schedule this Saturday. I'm doing a presentation at the 5E Gallery here in Detroit. So people who follow me on my Facebook page, the African History Network, on my personal page, or you get an email newsletter. I send out the email newsletter this evening. Also visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. The flyer is right there with all the information. I'm doing a presentation this Saturday, January 18th, 2014, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, this will be held at the 5E Gallery, located at 4605 Cass Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. It's right at the corner of Cass and Forest Street. It sits right behind the Universalist Unitarian Church. You want to enter in through the Forest Street entrance, right through the red door. Okay, it's a free event. Donations will be accepted, and we're going to web stream this live also through Town Zone TV. All right, so right on the homepage of our website, we have the information, have the link to click on. We only ask for a $5 donation to be able to web stream this. You'll be able to watch it from anywhere in the world. And when we discuss the transatlantic slave trade, we have to first understand that African people are the indigenous people of this land. Brother KABA, you just mentioned Dr. David Imhotep, so I always reference some of his work and pay him honor. I just talked to him a few days ago, by the way, also. He called me a few days ago. But I referenced some of his work because we were in South America going back at least 56,000 years ago, and we were in North America, specifically the territory known as the United States of America, at least 51,700 years ago. So we have to understand that we are the indigenous people of this land. And even though the transatlantic slave trade did happen, because you have some of us who have misinformation and try to say it did not happen, even though it did happen, we were already here, and there were millions of us in North, Central, and South America. So we have to deal with that first. Then we have to understand the Moors, descendants of the Garamantes, going into the Iberian Peninsula 711 AD, taking the teachings from ancient Kemet and saving the Europeans, and then that sets up 3rd 1492 with Columbus sailing for the quote-unquote New World, and the discovery of the so-called discovery of the New World opens up the exploitation of the indigenous people, lays the foundation for slavery and capitalism, racism. It extends European white supremacy and allows the transatlantic slave trade to take place. So we have to understand these things in chronological order as opposed to having an episodic approach to historical events. So these are some of the things we want to deal with, and I've already, putting together this presentation, I've done basically all the research already. I'm just pulling together all my notes and things like this. But starting out, I started jotting down different bullet points I wanted to hit, different points I wanted to hit. I ended up with a list of 55 points that I want to hit. So I'm going to have to do, this is an introduction overview. I'm going to have to do 2 or 3 more presentations, but this is going to be excellent. So people definitely come if you're in the Detroit area, or tune in to do the web streaming and visit our website. We have the information there, and we have the event invite on our Facebook page also. So I'm doing that January. That's still January. Okay, January 18th. February 25th, I am at Northwestern Unitarian Church. I'm doing a presentation. I'm doing a short presentation
they want me to talk about the transatlantic slave trade. They don't know what they're in for. But I'm speaking from about 3:15 to about 4 o'clock. 13650 Eileen Street in Detroit. 13650 Eileen Street, Detroit. It's a free event. Northwestern Unitarian Church. They're right at 96 West and Wyoming Street. So that is on the 25th. And then February 2nd, I'm back at the 5E Gallery, 4605 Taz Avenue in Detroit, doing my presentation. Should African Americans celebrate Black History Month, exposing the myths? You saw the presentation last year. It's revised, a lot of new information. That's going to be from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's a free event as well. And February 8th, I'll be down in St. Louis with the New African Paradigm Study Group and Brother KABA. Be down there for that. I already talked to Brother James Stewart. And February 15th, I'll be at the Redford Detroit Branch Library for the Return to Ma'at organization, Return to Ma'at organization. They're doing their Black History Month celebration, so they have me as their keynote speaker. That's from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., and I speak from about 3 to about 4:30. And I'm dealing with should African Americans celebrate Black History Month, exposing the myths. So they have a fantastic organization. I spoke for them for Kwanzaa. And they asked me to be their keynote speaker here. So, and also, lastly, I'll be in Chicago Friday, February 21st. The Watoto Wetu Academy. They're bringing me in to do a presentation also. Should African Americans celebrate Black History Month, exposing the myth? So I'll get the location soon. We'll have a flyer and everything, but that's going to be 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. In Chicago, and I think that's going to be at their school, so I have to find out. But that's what's going on so far. And then February 28th through March 1st, February 28th through March 2nd in Detroit, location to be announced, but I'll be with Brother Kalindi Ii, Brother Marduk Bell, who we had on the show last Thursday. We're going to have Brother Marduk back on tomorrow night on the African History Network show. So if you heard Brother Marduk Bell last week on the African History Network show, tune in again. We're going to have him back on. But I'll be with those two brothers as well as Brother Robert X from Chicago. We're doing the Meeting of the Master Teachers 2014 Friday, Friday, February 28th through March 2nd in Detroit. So stay tuned for that. We'll have some more information about that as well. So that's what's going on. So, yeah, brother, both very busy.
No doubt about that. Staying busy, brother.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, look, brother, you have a good night, and we'll talk to you next time. And then people can go to your website also and download the study notes as well. You have like about 4 pages of study notes, brother. A lot of information, people. Yeah, pantherprince.com, pantherprince.com, and then click on it says Dogon study notes or something like that. Click on that and download the notes also. It's free to download.
Absolutely. Well, there's a whole bunch of there are other things that you can download also if you're interested as it relates to the work that I have up there. And also, if you'd like to reach out, a question or a comment, you can reach out at reach me by email, Kamene, KAMENE 777 at AOL.com. You can reach out to me if you have a question or a comment. But I just thank you, Brother Imhotep, for this opportunity. And I thank our community
no problem, man.
for doing, and I look forward to next week when we're going to be talking about on the Town Zone TV program. We'll be talking about the Dogon, the geography of the Dogon. We're going to place them into space and time. Time is history, and we're going to talk about where they're located as it relates to Mali, West Africa, as it relates to Africa, as it relates to the world. Next Wednesday from 9 to 10, www.TOWNZONETV.com. I thank you again, Brother Imhotep, and I thank the family for their time. I look forward to next week.
Okay. All right, brother. You have a good night, okay?
You have the same, brother. Hotep.
Okay, Hotep.
Hotep.
All right, family. Let's see. Okay. Be sure to tune into the African History Network show tomorrow night, 8 p.m. 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. And you can tune in at blogtalkradio.com/The African History Network show, or call in, listen by phone, 914-338-1375. We'll have Brother Marduk Bell on to talk more about the Meduneter and some of the things he's going to teach in the class this coming Saturday. If you're in the Detroit area, you can come to this class. It is, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Detroit at Fellowship Chapel Church, 7707 West Outer Drive, 7707 West Outer Drive. And it's free. They just accept donations. Class. We'll post it again on our Facebook like page, the African History Network. Also, we have a few of Brother Marduk's DVDs on our website, also theafricanhistorynetwork.com. The items number 709, 710, and 711. It's a 3-part series. Kush in the Beginning, Forbidden Knowledge, part 1, 2, and 3 from Brother Marduk Bell. We'll have some more. He's going to give me some more of his DVDs to put on our website to sell also. Okay, so remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Remember, right now is correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Mod Hotep. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.